Alright, hey y'all, welcome back. The fuck? I only have 11 minutes. Ugh, they're silencing me. I don't know why, I just deleted a bunch of shit. Anyway, okay, I don't have very much time. This is a collective convo. We're gonna talk about critical thinking, because it's very important. Also, the basis of critical thinking is essentially asking more questions about information from an unbiased point of view, right? Like, so when presented with information, allowing yourself to not get emotionally swept up, right? So say someone says something to you. It's about being more curious than judgmental. It's about being unbiased in your approach. Critical thinking is about asking more questions for clarity and understanding versus just accepting what you're told with an emotional response. Yeah, I guess I don't need 11 minutes. So I saw this woman on TikTok the other day say that critical thinking isn't something that is taught until you get to higher ed. And that's true. I didn't learn about critical thinking or how to do it until I was in my master's program. And it is a lot of decolonizing. It's a lot of but decolonizing itself is also that process, right, of critically thinking about things differently than how we were taught. Okay? And again, I think it's also allowing mystery. I think that education is very egotistically ego-based in this society, and it's like, oh, I know this, so I'm better than you. It's not that. It's, I am aware that I don't have all the information because I'm just one person. Being okay with that. Also recognizing how education and how information is presented to the masses to exert control and emotional manipulation, right? So once you understand the principles of the way information is given, right? And this could be from anything, right? Like education, schools, it could be the news, it could be anything. And social media has really changed the way that people get information, which is why the powers that be are so concerned with our ability to communicate with each other, because they recognize that we are starting to recognize as the people that to each their own, everyone's the expert of their own experience. And just because you haven't experienced something doesn't mean that it's not true, doesn't mean it's not real. Doesn't mean that you can't have empathy and compassion for someone who has experienced something, right? And I think all of that goes into critical thinking. But ultimately, critical thinking is more asking more questions than just accepting something blindly. So, I'm trying to think of a good example, but I don't think I have a good example of this. Researching, doing things on your own. Critical thinking is not blindly accepting what you're given. I feel like I'm just repeating myself. And not letting yourself get emotionally involved in the information you're given. That's not critical at all. That's what they want. They being the powers that be, utilize emotional appeal, emotional manipulation over truth, right? Because a lot of this shit isn't true, but how you respond is where the power is, right? So if you're gonna continue giving your power away by getting emotionally distraught when presented with information that you don't necessarily agree with or understand, you're a very easily manipulated person, and the powers that be are going to continue to do whatever the fuck it want to you, right? So when we start critically thinking, it's a form of taking your power back, right? It's a form of dissent. It's a form of, it's an important part of coming into consciousness, decolonizing, ego death, right? All of it. It's all encompassing. If and when you have a feeling too. I mean, once you understand how to critically think, which again is simply not getting emotionally involved in information or whatever, and asking more questions, once you're able to do that, you don't go back, right? And that's what this woman said on TikTok too. She's like, once it's a skill you have, you can't you can't undo it. You're going to critically think about everything, right? And another part of that is accepting and understanding the mystery, right? Like, I remember when I got to a point of being like, I don't need to know everything, but what I do need to know is how I can respond and how I can inform, you know, I lost my train of thought. I got distracted. How do I... Another question. How do I utilize this information? Is this information important for my survival, for my understanding of something? Is this information, you know? But like asking more questions. And because we have the ability to research so quickly, you know, look to others who have experienced these things, there's really literally no excuse for people to still be accepting blindly the truths in which they are presented with, right? Like, there's literally, it's really easy to critically think once you understand what it is. And again, it's asking more fucking questions than anything, and that's just kind of an academic standing as well. So if that's not how you usually move in the world, just wanted to put this here. You know, critically thinking is being critical of the information, thinking about other things, and, you know, using your brain to make connections that you see, research more information. It's not accepting things immediately. It's doing your due diligence to ensure that you are making educated decisions, not emotional decisions, because, you know, when did we learn about... Oh, I'm pissed I only have 11 minutes. When did we learn about those euros or I'll have to... I think that was psychology class. We learned about the ways in which people can respond either emotionally or logically, right? Critically thinking is kind of a combination of both, but understanding that your emotions are not the ones making the decision, right? Thinking with a critical, logical, even sometimes analytical, because you want to get as much information as possible to make the best decision about something. I really wish I had a better example. But I think leaving it open-ended is kind of helpful. So when presented with information, don't necessarily have an emotional response immediately. Instead, do your best to like hold yourself back from emotionally imploding or whatever, and then ask yourself questions, right? This is information from news, information from others. If it's something that challenges your already held belief system, more than likely you will have an emotional response, because it's just human nature to like get butthurt about when other people have different opinions, especially in America. But ultimately, it's really just like asking, have I experienced this? Why am I resistant to this information, right? Those are the questions you can ask yourself about even just your ability to receive information or communication. But once you get past those, right? Once you go through these things a little bit, I'm getting hot. Once you go through these things a little bit, it's going to become second nature. It's going to be something that you just do automatically. Like I said, you can't go back, you know. It's going to make you more compassionate and understanding to yourself and others. And ultimately a lot more intelligent too, because you're not going to be working from a place of emotional control, right? And that's what they want. I'm going to look into that psychology stuff, and I'll make another one about that later. And I also have to delete some shit because I don't know why it's... Earlier today I had like a hell of a lot of time. Now I only have 11 minutes. My phone hates me. Okay, have a good one.